All right, we'll get started. Thanks everyone for being here with us this evening. We're excited to share with you what we think 2021 is going to look like in terms of trail work and projects. My name is Jo Swanson, and I'm the Trail Development Director for SHTA. I've been with the organization since 2015, but was a volunteer since around 2007 or so. So I really love this trail, really am excited to be working on it and to be part of its forward motion. And I'm joined this evening by Jaren Kramer, who will be monitoring the chat box. So if you have questions, you can feel free to put them in there. If we don't get to them this evening, we'll follow up with you later. And I'm also joined by my colleague Tamara, who I will make him introduce himself. And you're muted. We want to hear what you're saying.
Oh, dang, I couldn't get out of it. Anyway.
Nice try.
Yeah, my name is Tamara Ibrahim. I'm the Trail Operations Director since 2018. So I'm going on 3 seasons here. But I've been living in northern Minnesota for over 20 years. And what brought me up here was I worked for the Minnesota Conservation Corps way back in the late 90s. And so some of my first experiences with that job was working on the Superior Hiking Trail. And I didn't build this bridge 20 years ago, but I've replaced about 3 of them now that I did build a long time ago. So that's kind of fun.
We want to start out by just saying thank you to all of our volunteers. We've got over 300 miles of trail in the Superior Hiking Trail network. And the reason that it exists is because volunteers worked to help construct it. They've worked to maintain it. They've worked on special projects. And I know we're all here because we love the trail, and we're just so grateful for all that you do. It's like the best group project ever. You know, group projects kind of have a bad rap, but working with volunteers like we have in our community is just so inspiring with how much you all go above and beyond all the time. So we're so grateful. Thank you. Those of you who haven't necessarily been tuned in to what the SHTA volunteer program has been up to these past few years, there have been a few changes that I'll go over just briefly. So in 2018, we launched the Trail Renewal program, which was basically SHTA accepting that we had a lot of work to do. The trail is facing challenges that maybe were there a decade ago, but weren't as imminent. They weren't as scary. So we're seeing, climate change having a big impact on the trail. We're seeing increased use of the trail, which is awesome, but also comes with additional maintenance challenges. We've got those things happening, and at the same time, we've got infrastructure that is aging out. So our bridges that were built 20, 30 years ago need to be unbuilt and something else put in place. So all of that's kind of happening at the same time, which means that we needed a new approach to doing work on the trail. So one of the ways that we're doing this is by offering more trainings than we used to. We're hoping to really increase the skill level of our volunteers so that when volunteers go out on the trail, they're contributing, the most that they can have a really great impact, and they can know that their work is going to really be part of the overall health of the trail. We're expanding opportunities to get involved. Now that's going to be, a little weird this year still, kind of in the COVID-19 era, but we are hoping to, increase opportunities as the years go on. There will be more and more ways to be involved. We're also going to be launching a program this year for first-time volunteers. So people who haven't been on the trail before, they don't know if they like trail maintenance, they don't maybe know what tools are used. We're hoping to create these, kind of bite-sized events that we'll talk more about in a bit. And we'll also be using new tools that we have to make volunteers' jobs easier and more fun. So you might be spending less time hauling materials in if we can get our CaniCom, which is kind of like a motorized wheelbarrow. So we've got new tools. Don't worry, there will always be situations where we need volunteers to haul things in. So if that's what you love, don't worry. But if you don't love it, there are going to be more opportunities for you to do other things. So let's talk about what's going on with trainings that are coming up here this year. So this year we are contracting with Tim Molzan, who formerly worked for the Ice Age Trail Alliance and runs a Trail Eyes program. He is an awesome trainer, and I've been lucky enough to work with him a couple of times. Some of our volunteer crew leaders have worked with him, and he'll be doing a couple of training programs for us this year. One is called Developing Your Trail Eyes, which is a way of learning how to look at the trail to assess where the problem areas are, what to do about them, how to maybe solve them creatively. And what I love about this opportunity is that Tim will be doing a couple of webinars that people can sign up for, and then there will also be an in-person component. But because we're doing webinars, there's a big capacity to host people at those. The in-person sessions will be more limited, but at least even if we can't get you into an in-person session, you will be able to attend those webinars, and they will be recorded so that people who can't make it can watch it later. So we're really excited about this opportunity to spend more. And he'll also be doing a program called Water Off, People On. Don't get that mixed up. You definitely want to have water off and people on, not the other way around. Tamara, do you want to talk a little more about this one?
Sure. Yeah, so you already stole my joke. I was gonna.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna play on that one. But anyway, this is going to be a similar setup to the previous webinar. Previous training. There's going to be 2 webinars, one of which will be recorded, and then 2 in-person 4-hour sessions with limited space. So, but as Joe mentioned with the other one, you still will be able to get a lot out of the webinars if you can't attend the in-person training. And this one is going to be called Water Off, People On. Had to make sure that I said it right. And that is kind of, we had a training last year which we called plumbing training, and so this is kind of building on that type of training. With plumbing, we're kind of just referring to dealing with water, and how the impacts that it has on the trail, and why you want your trail to be able to effectively shed water. So I imagine we'll be talking about different kind of design features that a trail may have that will allow it to shed water effectively. We would talk about different kinds of plumbing structures, which by that I'm referring to like drainage dips, water bars, soil checks, all kinds of different things that you can build into the trail to help get water off if your trail is maybe not properly designed or in the optimal location that it could be. And then another thing that might be discussed is, and this kind of more addresses the people on aspect, but user psychology. If you do a good job of making nice dry tread and that is well drained, that will go a long way to keeping people on the trail. But sometimes making your trail go where the people want it to go, or convincing the people that they want to go where the trail is going, you can get pretty deep down that rabbit hole. So I don't know if we'll touch on that or not, but it's possible. So this one should be very, very helpful and interesting as well.
In a different vein, we're also hoping to offer several first aid and CPR training opportunities for our volunteers. We got a generous grant from the Lloyd K. Johnson Foundation to help us fund the training of our volunteers in first aid and CPR. And we're hoping to have a class on the North Shore and also one in the Twin Cities, since we know that so many of our volunteers come from the Twin Cities. So we don't have any dates set up yet, and we don't have any, very specific details, but just know that this is on the horizon, and we hope to get, as many volunteers trained as we can. We will have to make sure that we are focusing on returning volunteers for this, since capacity will be limited, but it's definitely an area where we're interested in growing and providing more opportunities in the future. So if you don't get in this time around, hopefully next time. All right, let's shift gears here and talk about some of the projects that are coming up. We've got some good ones this year. So as you may know, part of the Trail Renewal program has been focusing on 5 really bad sections of the Superior Hiking Trail that need a lot of renewal and maintenance in order to be sustainable. And among the most challenged spots is the Split Rock River Loop. If you've been out there recently, you've seen a lot of erosion. You've seen some dangerous, structures, some of which have been removed. This is an assessment. This map that you're seeing. We've had several people go out and assess the trail to offer recommendations for charting a path forward for this really hard area. And this isn't the whole map, but I will say that if you see anywhere red, that's a problem spot, and there's an awful lot of red. So we know that we have our work cut out for us in this spot. And I will turn it over to Tamara to talk about what we plan to tackle in 2021.
So we are going to be replacing this bridge that is pictured here. It's the bridge itself is in great shape, unfortunately. It's always kind of difficult to replace something that is still usable. But it's too short, and there's terrible erosion on the far bank. This picture doesn't really show how bad the erosion is or how steep the slope is once you leave the bridge, but it's pretty bad. You can see too on that zoomed in photo that the bank is really, the support is really undercut. So, this could be lost at any moment if, we have a big rain event or something like that. So we've been working with Tim Malzahn again, formerly from the Ice Age Trail, to design and install a new bridge in this location in a slightly different. We'll move it downstream a little bit, and we'll elevate it so that it ties into the slope at a more favorable location. And if we are fortunate, we might be able to move this old structure somewhere else and drop it exactly where it needs to be. So there's a lot of different components to this project. And this spot is approximately 1.5 miles from the wayside, so it's a ways in there, and we have a lot of materials to bring in. So that's going to be a pretty time-consuming part of the project as well. But it's things are really coming together, and it's it's going to be awesome. It's going to look really great. The rest of the trail still needs a lot of work, but got to start somewhere.
One other project that we're doing this year is a project that we had hoped to complete in 2020, but then 2020 happened. We, well, by we, I mean Tamara and Forest Service staff were able to snowmobile in 3 bear poles to some of our most popular campsites. These are the first bear poles that SHTA has ever installed, so we're hoping that they are successful. Now, last year, Tamara, with some volunteer help, was able to install the bear pole at Onion River campsite, but we do have 2 bear poles sitting out in the woods at East Lake Agnes and West Lake Agnes campsites. So we're hoping to get those installed at some point this season. We don't have a date set yet, but it is on the horizon. And the hope is that these bear poles will cut down on the number of human and animal interactions at these very busy campsites. It's a design similar to what is used at several places on the Appalachian Trail, including Shenandoah National Park, where bears are very habituated to know that people means food bags. So we're hoping that hikers will use these, and if they're a success, maybe we'll install more in the future, but we're just going to do these 3 as a test run, and hopefully we'll get them installed soon. This is a big one. I'll let Tamara tell you about Kimball Creek Bridge.
You may recognize the photo on the right from the introduction slide. Same bridge. This one too, yeah, this bridge is over 20 years old. So it's time to replace it. We might not be able to see any of the rot that could be present in the beams, but the cribbing is located on a shelf of rock that is kind of crumbling and also breaking away from the main rock face. That could be problematic. And then the decking and the railings are really starting to get rotten. So we're replacing this bridge with a new, we're going to move it to a different location. It's going to be longer, and we're replacing it with a 50-foot fiberglass or fiber reinforced polymer bridge, much like you see in the state parks or at some of the state waysides like Split Rock and Cadunce. So they're out there, they're around. And we have installed one on the Superior Hiking Trail down on the Red River near the southern terminus. But this will be the second. So they are, there's a lot of features of these bridges that are really desirable from a trail standpoint. They're really easy to put together. Everything comes pre-drilled and you basically just assemble it in the field. They're very lightweight, so it comes delivered in separate pieces that are bundled up, and none of the pieces are more than 100 pounds. So from a trail standpoint, when you're trying to get materials into remote locations, it's a very, it's got some pretty good things going for it. So, this bridge and another one were paid for by the U.S. Forest Service. They're both of them are on federal land, so they kicked us some money that they applied for through a grant that they were eligible to get. So we got 2 free bridges out of the deal. Not bad. So anyway, we really appreciate their support and their financial contribution with all this. And we're excited about more experimentation with fiberglass bridges.
This year, we're hoping to also launch a program that was slated to begin last year. So we want to offer an opportunity for people who haven't been on a Superior Hiking Trail Association volunteer project before. We want to offer them the chance to try it out in kind of a bite-sized project with other people who are new. And we'll call them first trail experiences. We hope to have the first one in July. We'll see how it goes. 2021 is still a little bit up in the air, trying to figure out how the whole year is gonna go from a safety standpoint. But we're really optimistic that this is the year that it gets launched, and we look forward to welcoming new people into our community. And it's going to be a really good time. So we're really excited about it. There will also be projects happening in the Duluth area this year. We are delighted to report that our friend Larry Sampson is contracting with us to be running projects on the southern part of the Superior Hiking Trail. Larry knows the Duluth SHT better than probably anyone, and we're so happy that he can join us this year. He will have a mailing list that he sends out his projects to. And so if you're interested in that, you can sign up with Larry. He'll be working with volunteers on a lot of different projects. Like there's going to be a punch-in project on the Brewer Park Loop. And then Tamara is going to tell you about a couple other projects happening in the Duluth area.
Another bridge project. And this one, as you can see, it didn't look like this when it was first built. It's kind of, nobody's really sure why these certain bridges of this design get warped in very strange ways. Anyway, it's still more or less pretty structurally sound, but we're thinking it's time to retire this one. And this location, Sargent Creek, which is eastern Duluth off of Grand Avenue. Is that eastern Duluth? Anyway, this Larry and some city employees and other people kind of scouted this location, and they found another spot where we can cross without a bridge. So we're currently in the review portion of our permit for this project to try and move the crossing a little bit downstream. We may be doing some rock work to kind of place stepping stones, or we may not, depending on what their final decision is for this. But we will be removing the bridge and building a little bit of new trail. It's not too much. And then we have to close down the old trail, and we'll have a nice natural crossing, cheap and easy to maintain. This is Fox Farm Pond, and I guess over the years the beaver has been working on his dam, let it go, worked on it some more, and this boardwalk has washed out numerous times, and now it kind of looks like it's actually been incorporated into the dam. So we decided to move the whole thing downstream. So there was a short reroute was identified and constructed last year. I think they're basically done with the trail construction, but there's a short bridge that they're going to have to build over this same creek just a little bit downstream. So that is happening also this year, and hopefully that little bit of separation will give it a longer life.
We wanted to touch base tonight also on safety measures and how to sign up for volunteer projects this year. So, as I indicated earlier, it's still a weird year. COVID is still a thing. We wish it wasn't, but it is. And so this year is going to continue to look a little different. We will continue to ask volunteers to wear masks when you cannot socially distance. always bring one with you when you're volunteering, because you may think that you can socially distance while volunteering, but chances are there will be some situation where you need to be closer to someone else than 6 feet. So we know that there's a big rush to return to normal, but please respect that not everybody is quite ready to be back at normal yet. We will be limiting group size, so we won't have as many really large projects as we might have had a couple of years ago, but we're hoping that we can at least get more people out doing volunteer work this year than last year. So it's a big step in the right direction. One other change this year is that we'll be providing certain personal protective equipment that we don't want back. So if you come to a work project and you don't have a pair of gloves, we will give you a pair of gloves. We will give you eye protection. Please, though, we don't want it back. We really love volunteers. We don't love the germs. You can keep it. We will want some personal protective equipment returned, like hard hats, but those are fairly easy for us to sanitize. So you can also, bring your own personal protective equipment. That would help us out too. And then that you've got a pair of gloves that works for you. But we're also happy to provide it if you don't have it when you come. At large projects, we will be providing a hand washing station, which is just a good thing to have, even in the post-COVID era, whenever that happens. It'll be great to be able to be a little cleaner at projects. And we will also have signs that we can put up when we're doing a trail project on either end of the trail. So that will just alert people using the trail, runners and hikers, that they should be aware that there's a volunteer project ahead. And we just think that it's a good thing to let people know that they might turn a corner and there's going to be, a bunch of lumber and, a bunch of volunteers building something or rock work or something going on. So we're hoping to have those signs, in hand by the time we have our first trail project out there. It's also a great thing just to let trail users know that, hey, this trail does rely on volunteer work. And so it just kind of makes your work a little more visible for the passersby. In terms of signing up, this year we will be posting general volunteer events onto the event calendar on our website, and when appropriate, there will be a registration link that you can click and register. There will be certain opportunities this year that are only going to be available to returning volunteers due to certain training levels that we need, and just the capacity of the events may be really small. So if those situations arise, we'll be contacting those volunteers through our volunteer portal or directly via email. And for Duluth area projects, if you want to work with Larry, you can email him, or you can also contact either me or Tamara, and we can make that connection too. So we're really grateful for all that you do, and we hope that we can see you this year. Before we take questions, I just want to acknowledge one very special volunteer who's on the call tonight, and that is Jaren Kramer. Jaren is not only SHTA staff, but he has put in far more hours than he's ever been paid for. He has been so dedicated and helped out in so many different capacities. I can't sing his praises enough, and it's his very last week as SHTA staff. So we're hoping that we can lure him back occasionally to come be a volunteer, and we hope to see him many more times in the coming years. And he'll always be welcome here on the North Shore. Now, with that said, do we have any pressing questions that we should conquer tonight?
I haven't seen any questions pop up in the chat or the Q&A, but now's a great time if folks would like to use either of those features we're watching so that we can answer any of your questions. And thank you, Joe, for your very kind farewell message. I really appreciate it.
We will miss you so much. All right. If questions do come up later, feel free to drop us a note. We've got our emails on there. I don't know what Tamara's inbox looks like, but mine is pretty dire. And so I just want to warn you that it might take me a while to return your email, but I promise I will get to it, and I'm going as fast as I can.
We did just get a question from May. Will any of the described projects be looking for volunteers?
Will any of the which projects?
Of the projects that were described during the presentation.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, I would say at this time, we're not totally sure of the volunteer needs for each project, but we will be posting those pretty soon when we have a better idea. So stay tuned.
There will be a need. We're just not sure on numbers and days and things like that.
And then a couple other questions coming in. Thanks, folks, for taking the time to ask. Mark asked, do campsite adopters use the opportunity labeled 2021 section adopting? I think he's talking about the volunteer portal. I think we still need to launch the campsite adopters opportunity, but it will.
Agreed. We will create that opportunity within 24 hours. Sorry that that's not up yet.
Good question, Mark.
Excellent question. Rock on, Mark.
And then Eric asked if any of the projects slated for July or August, since that's when he's got time to volunteer.
Yes, we will have, I believe the split rock work will likely be in July and bridge work likely in August. Plus, there's probably going to be activities in Duluth during that period as well.
Great. Thanks, folks.
Thank you all so much for being here, and can't wait to see you all on the trail. We appreciate all you do.